Scorpio, something sacred is unfolding in your story. Tomorrow, on September 21st, a woman will enter your life and nothing will ever be the same. She may not come with thunder or fire, but her presence will shift the atmosphere. This is not a coincidence. Her arrival is not a random event. It is a divine appointment, whispered through the cosmos and confirmed through your intuition. Her energy will awaken something deep within you, something you may have buried beneath doubt, silence, or survival. And whether she is a stranger, a returning figure from your past, or a mirror of who you're becoming, her purpose is clear: to open the next chapter of your soul's mission. Welcome, dear Scorpio, to Miracle of the Sign. You didn't stumble upon this video. You were led here. Not by algorithms, not by chance, but by a quiet force moving through the fabric of your life. Maybe you felt it lately, that stirring in the shadows, a shift you can't quite explain. The kind of pull that wakes you at 3 a.m. The longing to break free from a version of yourself that no longer fits. The sense that something is ending, and something greater is waiting to begin. That's not your imagination. That's the voice of destiny. And this message is a confirmation. In the heavens, Mercury is harmonizing with Uranus, a rare alignment that sends ripples through consciousness. This is the perfect window for divine encounters, soul connections, and unexpected revelations. For Scorpio, a sign ruled by transformation and rebirth, this is not just another portal. This is your portal. You've been prepared for this. Even the ache in your chest, the quiet battles in your thoughts, the days you almost gave up have all led to this moment. A woman will appear, not to fix you, but to reflect the light you forgot you carried. And now I invite you to pause. Breathe in deeply. You are not watching this by accident. There is sacredness in your timing. As we journey together, I'll guide you through the layers of your current cycle: what's closing, what's awakening, and how to anchor yourself in the coming shifts. We'll explore the spiritual and astrological terrain of this moment, but more importantly, we'll explore you. Who you are when no one is watching. What your heart is still afraid to ask for. And what happens when you finally say yes to divine guidance. So if your heart is already whispering that this resonates, if a part of you is leaning in, waiting, wondering if this is the sign you've been praying for, comment below. I am open to divine appointments. Let the universe see you say yes. Let me also take a moment to thank you, truly, for being here. Every view, every like, every comment, every time you return to this channel builds something bigger than any of us. You're not just watching a video. You're part of a spiritual family that believes in light, truth, and renewal. And your presence fuels this mission. Stay with me until the very end, Scorpio. Because what the universe is revealing right now is more powerful than anything you've seen before. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every word of it. She may arrive softly, Scorpio, without announcement or expectation. And yet, her presence could be the most pivotal moment of your current cycle. Just as the equinox quietly balances light and shadow, her entrance into your life may come in quiet form but with cosmic purpose. The astrology of September 21st brings Mercury into a harmonious trine with Uranus, a powerful alignment that often signals unexpected conversations, revelations, and shifts in mental perspective. But for you, this isn't just a shift in thinking. It's a soul-level nudge, the kind that reawakens something sacred within you, something you may have locked away for protection. We often speak of divine timing as if it's some grand explosion of clarity. But more often, it's subtle. It shows up in human form. This woman, whoever she may be, is not here to fix you. She is here to remind you of who you've always been beneath the layers you've outgrown. That's why her role is not just symbolic. She may very well be the embodiment of transition, the bridge between the life you've known and the one your soul is ready to live. This alignment between Mercury and Uranus heightens the nervous system. It speeds up information, insight, and conversation. If you feel anxious or restless in her presence, take a moment to breathe. It is not always discomfort you are feeling, it is awakening. The kind of shaking that comes before new life begins. You may find yourself unable to explain why this interaction matters so deeply, but some part of you will just know. That's because your soul recognizes before your mind understands. For those who are spiritually attuned, this woman may carry an aura of remembering. Her words may pierce through confusion, her story may mirror your own, and her timing may break open doors you thought were sealed shut. There's a reason the scripture says, "Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing some have entertained angels without knowing it." Whether she's a mentor, a friend, a guide, or even someone returning from your past in a healed form, her arrival is not the test. Your response is. Will you let yourself be seen in her reflection? Will you allow the moment to expand you instead of frighten you? Scorpio, you are no stranger to intensity, but this moment doesn't call for battle. It calls for surrender. This isn't about fighting your way into the next phase. It's about allowing yourself to receive it with reverence, with openness, with a willingness to become someone new. So much of your growth has been forged through hardship, through resilience, through choosing strength when softness felt unsafe. But perhaps this season is asking you to rewrite that equation. Perhaps this is the chapter where softness becomes your strength, where openness becomes your shield, where love becomes your armor. And that, in itself, is revolutionary. We are not always ready when change shows up. But readiness is not a feeling, it's a choice. And you don't have to know what's coming to say yes to what you're being shown. Sometimes, we simply choose to lean in, to listen a little deeper, to stay present in the presence of the unfamiliar. That's how soul transformation begins. If even a small part of you is resonating right now, I encourage you to write it into being. Comment below, "I received the woman of destiny on September 21st. Let the act of saying it awaken something bold and sacred in you. Let it be your first step toward becoming who you were always meant to be. Scorpio, there are moments when the soul doesn't need to shout to be heard, it only needs a still room, a quiet breath, and the courage to admit what's been stirring all along. That stirring you felt lately, the restlessness, the subtle hum beneath your skin, the whisper that says something is coming, anxiety. It's activation. And it's not random. It's a call from within, echoing the energy of your ruling planet, Pluto, as it begins to illuminate the sacred architecture of your next becoming. Unlike the intensity of past transformations, those that often came through loss, crisis, or deep emotional unraveling, this one is different. Pluto, while known for its depths, is currently guiding you toward a rebirth that emerges through clarity, not chaos. The cosmos isn't asking you to break apart. It's inviting you to burn brighter. This moment is symbolized perfectly by the Ace of Wands archetype of sacred ignition. It doesn't explode. It glows from the inside out. This isn't a fire that consumes, but one that purifies, refines, and awakens. It's the creative surge that returns when you finally remember you're not here to survive, you're here to shape, to build, to express, to lead. And then there's the Ace of Pentacles, arriving like a grounded companion to that fire, reminding you that inspiration alone is not enough. It must be channeled, planted, rooted. There's potential now for a new beginning in the material world. That could be a job, a home, a relationship, or even a new mindset around abundance. But whatever it is, it won't come from force. It will come from alignment. You are no longer who you were. And this is the space between stories, the sacred liminal moment when you're not quite who you were yesterday, and not yet who you're becoming. That's why the energy might feel unfamiliar. That's why it's easy to mistake awakening for anxiety. But the truth is, your system isn't breaking. It's rebooting. In numerology, the frequency of 999 appears during moments of finality, the kind that doesn't scream, but breathes. It means the past no longer requires your energy. And when we see this number mirrored in both the inner and outer world, it's often confirmation that a cycle is closing, not because you failed but because you've completed the lesson. There's no need to go back and fix what's already served its purpose. Now, you get to ask a new question. What will I do with this new fire inside me? You see, fire in its sacred form isn't just passion. It's purpose. It's drive paired with discernment. And that is the invitation of this moment, not to chase blindly, but to rise intentionally. To ask not just what you want, but what you are here to offer. That shift alone changes everything. So I ask you gently, what do you sense is awakening within you? What truth have you been afraid to claim, not because you don't believe in it but because you know it would require you to step into something greater? If your answer is stirring in your chest as you listen, trust that. Let that be your proof. You don't have to see the full vision to take the first step. All you need to do is listen to that sacred rhythm beneath the noise and trust it enough to follow. Now, if you feel that flame beginning to rise, if you feel something in you saying, "I'm ready," then say it aloud. And if you feel moved, write it below as an affirmation. My fire is ready to rise for a greater purpose. Let those words be the match that lights the path ahead. Scorpio, as you stand at the threshold of transformation, a new kind of abundance begins to approach, not with the roar of grandeur, but with the steady rhythm of alignment. What's unfolding now is not about chasing wealth, but about becoming available to it. When the Ace of Pentacles appears beside the Empress, it does more than hint at prosperity. It reveals that something rooted and real is ready to grow in your material world. And yet, this growth can only emerge from a place of wholeness, not from desperation or scarcity, but from a heart that has remembered its worth. The Ace of Pentacles represents not just a financial gift, but a doorway. This is an opportunity, perhaps disguised as a new idea, a surprising conversation, or a job you hadn't expected to open. It may arrive through unexpected income, a collaboration you hadn't considered, or a personal breakthrough that shifts how you relate to money altogether. But deeper still, it represents the seed of a more stable life, one that is rooted in purpose, not pressure. And the Empress, in her quiet knowing, reminds us that true abundance doesn't come from striving. It comes from receiving. From creating space. From allowing what wants to grow, to grow. That's why so much of what is shifting for you now, Scorpio, may begin internally. You might start to question the stories you've carried about your own value. The idea that worth must be earned through struggle, or that you are only deserving of stability once you've proven yourself. But what if none of that is true? What if the gateway to lasting abundance isn't about doing more but believing differently? In astrology, the number 6 emerging from the numerology of September 21 is the number of harmony, love, service, and material spiritual balance. It teaches us that our outer world only blooms when our inner world is tended to. That money is not just currency, but energy. And that the way we speak about our future, the way we budget, the way we receive all of it is spiritual. So let's take this moment practically. Begin to rewrite your financial vision. Not from fear, but from calm intention. Where do you want your energy to flow? What's worth investing in? Perhaps it's not about earning more, but managing differently. Perhaps your breakthrough will come not through a raise but through the realization that what you have is already enough to begin. Create space in your daily rhythm for clarity. Support your nervous system. Magnesium-rich foods and vitamin B can be gentle allies when stress wraps itself around money matters. Let your body feel safe again. Let your mind breathe. And beyond the practical, remember this: the invitation to greater wealth is not about proving you're worthy of it. It's about choosing to allow it. Choosing to no longer shrink in the face of your own capacity. Choosing to say yes to the door, even if you don't know what's on the other side yet. Life rarely hands us the entire map, but it will offer us the next step. And right now, your step is trust. If you feel this message stirring something in you, if you sense a window of opportunity opening, one that you're finally ready to step through, I invite you to speak that readiness into reality. Write it below, not just for me, but for yourself. Say, 888, I'm open to receive what's already mine. Let those numbers be more than symbols. Let them be a declaration. A frequency. A promise. You are worthy of more. And now, you are ready to welcome it. Scorpio, sometimes it's not the loud memories that hold us back, it's the soft ones. The ones that linger in silence. The ones that flicker in your mind just before you fall asleep. The ones that come not as pain, but as ache. And it's in this subtle ache that the 6 of Cups appears, not to haunt you, but to invite you. To invite you to pause and feel what still lives in you from the past, not to drown in it, but to recognize it, honor it, and maybe, finally, release it. There's a reason these cards appear together now. The 6 of Cups speaks of nostalgia, of the warmth and weight of what once was. The 5 of Cups, however, turns our attention to grief, to what was lost, to what was never said. And together, they form a mirror reflecting the inner conflict between longing and letting go. It's not weakness to remember, but it can become a quiet cage if you refuse to open the door. You may sense that someone from your past is thinking of you, and that sense is likely real. Perhaps their name has resurfaced in your thoughts for no reason. Perhaps your dreams have brought them back to you. Perhaps a part of you still wonders, what if? But here's the question that truly matters now. Is this memory still love, or has it become a loop? A loop that you keep circling not because it brings joy, but because it's familiar. Because it hurts just enough to feel alive, but not enough to push you forward. What you choose to do with this emotional current is yours and yours alone. But know this, forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is freedom. And freedom is not for them, it's for you. Releasing the past doesn't mean invalidating it. It means refusing to carry it any further. Your heart is a sacred space, and it deserves to be occupied by what lifts you, not what weighs you down. If a relationship has ended but still echoes, that echo will fade only when you stop feeding it your energy. Now is a moment to be brave in a new way. Not brave by holding everything in, but brave by letting it move through you. Brave by allowing the tears to fall, the truths to rise, and the door to either open or close fully. You don't have to know today what the final answer is. But you do have to be honest with yourself about whether you're clinging to pain out of habit or if you're truly ready to make space for light again. From a self-healing perspective, this is an ideal time to practice emotional reset rituals. Writing an unsent letter can release energetic cords that words never could. Breathing slowly using the 4-7-8 method grounds your nervous system and tells your subconscious that it's safe to feel again. The point isn't to rush the process. The point is to move forward, even if it's just a step. So if you're ready to choose emotional freedom over resentment, I invite you to speak it out loud, or better yet, write it. Leave a comment that says, "I choose freedom over bitterness." And if you're not quite there yet, honor where you are. That is healing too. Right, I'm learning to let go. There is grace in both. There is power in admitting the truth. And there is light waiting for you on the other side of what you're still holding. All that matters now is whether you're willing to set yourself free. Scorpio, when the Hermit and the Judgment align in a reading, it marks a sacred turning point in internal summoning that can no longer be ignored. This is the season when silence begins to speak louder than the noise, when your soul starts reaching for something deeper than answers. It wants clarity, not just certainty. It wants alignment, not just solutions. And most of all, it wants to come home to the voice within you that always knew the way. In astrology, when a soul like yours, intuitive, intense, and deeply feeling, goes through a spiritual quickening, it rarely happens with fireworks. It happens quietly. Often in the late hours of the night. Often in the middle of confusion, doubt, or the kind of loneliness that makes you question if you're truly seen. But here's the truth that too few say out loud: not every fog is a failure to navigate. Sometimes, it's a sign that you're finally being invited to look inward. Because only there can the real direction be found. The Hermit is not about isolation, it's about illumination. He retreats not to escape the world, but to understand his place within it. And paired with the Judgment, this moment in your life is a resurrection not in body, but in awareness. You're not broken. You're being called up and out of what no longer holds the vibration of who you are becoming. But before new life emerges, stillness is required. Not to prove your strength, but to remember it. This is where emotional self-help meets energetic healing. If you've been feeling the weight of too many decisions, or like the threads of your past, present, and future are tangled beyond repair, it doesn't mean you're failing. It means something sacred is unfolding and it needs your stillness to reveal itself. Take a breath. One that moves past your chest and into your belly. That alone is a form of prayer. In practical terms, nurturing this level of spiritual awakening can look as simple as beginning your mornings with a single phrase that reminds you who you are beyond the noise. Whether that's reading a sacred text, journaling what your inner voice is whispering, or simply repeating words like, I choose clarity, or I'm willing to be led, these are not empty actions. They are daily invitations for light to enter. Soft music before sleep, particularly sounds that hold frequencies of peace and restoration, can become more than background noise. They're tuning forks for your nervous system. They help regulate your heart space so it can be open enough to receive not just answers, but peace. And sometimes, that's the bigger miracle. Faith, in its purest form, is not the absence of fear. It's choosing to trust when the next step isn't clear. It's believing there's purpose to the pause, and design behind the delay. And even when life is at its quietest, your soul is never abandoned. In fact, it's being shaped. If your heart recognizes this message, if you feel the whisper of your inner wisdom growing louder with every sentence, honor that. Name it. Ground it into this moment. Write 777 below, not for anyone else, but as your own declaration. Let it mark the moment your healing deepened. Let it remind you that even in stillness, you are advancing. Even in questions, you are not lost. The divine doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it simply waits for you to get quiet enough to hear the whisper that's been guiding you all along. Scorpio, as we gently close this sacred circle together, take one last deep breath with me. Feel what has shifted. Can you sense it? That subtle, yet undeniable knowing that something inside you is ready not just to change, but to begin again. The story you've been telling yourself, the one rooted in survival, in fear, in wounds that once defined you, doesn't have to be the story you keep writing. You are no longer who you were, and that's a beautiful, holy truth. The next chapter doesn't demand perfection, it simply asks for your permission. Perhaps the most powerful reminder in this moment is this: you are not invisible, and you are never forgotten. Whether the woman of September 21st appears in physical form or through the echo of a soul-stirring moment, she is simply the vessel. The messenger. Her presence is a divine mirror, revealing to you that you are seen, known, and deeply worthy. Not because you've done everything right, but because your essence, your soul, is enough. And always has been. But here is where prophecy meets choice. No vision, no message, no synchronicity can transform your life unless you move with it. Unless you take the insight and live it. You are not here to be a passive listener. You are here to awaken as a conscious co-creator of your future. This is not about waiting for the stars to align. This is about realizing they already have. The sky has spoken. Now it's your turn. So I ask you, what will you do with this moment? Will you respond to the call within your spirit? Will you finally allow yourself to believe that you can create the life you've quietly dreamed of? That it's not too late, that healing is still possible, and that your past does not get to dictate your future? What's the one thing you're ready to release so you can fully receive what's been waiting for you? If your heart is whispering, yes, I want to invite you to anchor that commitment right here, right now. Write in the comments, I'm ready. Let the universe hear you. Let your own soul hear you. And if you felt a shift stir deep within, declare it. Comment 555 to affirm your transformation is already in motion. This isn't just an interaction, it's a sacred agreement with your own destiny. From the deepest part of my being, thank you for allowing me to guide you today. Your presence here means more than you know. Each like, every comment, and every share is a thread of energy that helps us build something healing and holy together. You are not just a viewer, you are a part of Miracle of the Sign, a space where lost souls are gently reminded of their light. If this message has touched your heart, I invite you to subscribe, to like this video, and to share it with someone who may need to hear that they are not alone. Let this be more than just another video you watched. Let it be a turning point. Let it be the moment you chose to believe again in yourself, in hope, in the unseen beauty of what's still to come. And always remember, your story is still being written, and you hold the pen.